Alright, so basically we're going to go over Danger Dark World. Reasons why this deck's not meta right now, even though you have a Danger Core, which is actually a meta concept. The concept of Dark World isn't relevant anymore. Now it's about building boards and making your opponent try to break your board.
So you're saying overall running Dark Worlds with Danger is kind of like outdated?
Yeah, because now if you're first in Yu-Gi-Oh and you are able to make a board where you have multiple negates, it's impossible to get over this type of board. For example, most Danger Dark World decks, they don't make big boards. They're good for going through the deck, but since the Firewall FTK is now gone, there's no need to go through your entire deck to get to cards because there's nothing really to get to. So now it's about breaking boards. So if you're going first and your opponent sets up a board where it has multiple negates and ends with cards that have interruptions and negate things, like Nightmare Griffin negating your entire board, or them ending with a Colossus on the field, a Boral, Savage Dragon, Hot Red Dragon, Heavenly Seal. It's hard to get over cards like this when you only start with 5 cards. So even though this deck is very good, it's hard to do anything when you're going second. So basically we're going to tell you what you can do to change this deck up, to update your deck. Different deck cores that you can add to it to make this deck better. Like Dangers are good, but we want to go ahead and add cards like Thunder Core cards so that you can end with also boards that are huge and are hard to get over as well. So we're going to take this deck apart basically. We're going to say what cards are useful and what cards are not useful, and we're going to revamp this deck and make it into a much more meta deck.
I'd imagine you could almost get rid of the Thunderbirds and probably even cut down on the Bigfoot, because those cards are kind of like, they're good and they're like beat sticks, but at the same time, you know, the chances that like you draw into a Thunderbird and then it ends up being useless because there's no set cards on the field, or it's just, you know, it's like a minus kind of in some ways.
Cards like Bigfoot and Thunderbird are decent cards to have going possibly second, but going first, if they miss and they get discarded, their effects don't progress the game state at all and make you go neg, compared to cards like Snake, Jackalope, and Nessie, which if they miss, they still have an effect that will still replace itself. It will not be a -1. It will be a 1-for-1 compared to these cards that can be -1s. These cards in general, Dark World cards, most of them are 1-for-1s. They're not +1s unless they're discarded by your opponent's effect, which will rarely happen because there's not many cards that get discarded out of your hand by your opponent's card effects these days. And then these are just like regular Dark World spell and traps that you would essentially use.
Honestly, like competitively speaking, if I ran this deck, I'd pretty much get destroyed. Like, as it currently stands.
Your best board with a deck like this won't really do anything because it's going to end with a simple board, like with a Cyrusia and maybe a Hope Harbinger, because there's nothing Thunder in here, and there's no tuner, so you're not playing any of these cards.
Honestly, most of the time, I end up like Hope Harbinger, first turn, negate a spell, but then because the deck isn't, I'm guessing, like so efficient, I don't end up with much more than that on the board. Whereas like most Yu-Gi-Oh players probably, if they run Danger, they'll end up with like 2 or 3 extra deck cards that shut their opponents down. But of course, it's like a first turn thing. Like, you know, if you're not going first, what'll end up happening is probably, you know, since Yu-Gi-Oh is so fast nowadays, like,
yeah, it's you definitely get an advantage by winning dice rolls. It's really good because then you get to make the boards where you have triple negate and cards like Colossus, which they can't add cards. So cards like this are really good going first because a lot of decks add cards. For example, if you go first against a Danger deck and they pitch Nessie, they won't get to add anything. If they pitch Snow, you won't get to add anything. You can still draw cards, but you cannot add cards from the deck, and you cannot destroy this card easily either because in most cases, there's going to be Thunder cards in the graveyard for him to banish to protect himself. So it's really hard to get this card off the field without having an effect, which in that case, there's going to be other monsters on the field that are going to negate those effects that are going to try to get this card off the field. So yeah, it'd be a good idea if you were to incorporate Thunder into any deck, because Colossus is a very powerful card.
Now, with the new ban list, the ban list that just came out, July 2019 ban list, Dangers actually got hit, and a lot of folks, from what I understand, like, they were talking about Dangers getting hit because everybody's like using them, or at the very least they're like a very, very powerful engine, very, very powerful archetype. But would you say that you were kind of surprised to see Dangers get hit, and how do you think that, you know, Jackalope and Tsuchinoko getting hit like affects the deck? Because, you know, those are the two Danger cards that they're so good because you can't really go wrong with them. Like Tsuchinoko, he comes out either way. Jackalope, he gets you another Danger automatically. So hitting those two is kind of like, and of course Nessie is like a really good Danger as well. So hitting those three definitely weakens the Danger archetype as a whole.
Yeah, you're correct with that for sure. I'm not surprised that the Dangers got hit. Dangers are very splashable, and they're very good as far as cycling through your deck. In most cases, when you're playing Dangers in a deck, you're using it to get enough cards on the field to go into big link monsters like Cyrusia, like Firewall when he was legal, and you're also using them to link climb. Link climbing is essential in Yu-Gi-Oh right now because when you go first, you're allowed to take your link monster from one zone, and when you link climb, you can link it and go to the other zone. So in Yu-Gi-Oh, you have the two zones where one is for your opponent and one is for you. But when you go first and the zone is open, you can go into a link monster in one zone. Let's say, for example, you go into a link monster that points down. So after you go into link monster that points down, you go into another monster and then use Dangers to link climb up. Let's say you were to use a Danger Jackalope with this, and then you would link, and then you would put the next link over here. That way you have another down pointing link and it opens up more zones. So link climbing is very essential, and they know that these are the two Dangers that necessarily do not go negative. Is not good in Yu-Gi-Oh. If you lose a card for nothing, it's not good.
Like first turn Thunderbird or
Yeah.
Bigfoot, you activate it and it goes straight to graveyard. Your 4 cards in hand, right?
Exactly. If your Danger Bigfoot or Danger Thunderbird misses, you go -1. If any of these cards miss, Jackalope, Snake, or Nessie, you don't go -1 because they replace themselves. This comes out, this specials another Danger from deck, and this adds another Danger, so you have another chance at going 1 for 1, which is also good. So no, I'm not surprised that Dangers were hit at all. I knew they were going to get touched eventually. They teased about this card being reprinted in a tin in the future, which I know they're going to reprint the Dangers because they're pretty high priced and they're splashable in every deck, and everyone wants to really play them. So I figured that was going to happen. But yeah, the ban list did actually just come out today. So it slowed down the deck a little bit by limiting these cards, so you just don't see them as much in your opening hand. These cards are all going to be limited starting today, and they didn't touch these because they know that these basically are trash. They're just like, they're Dangers, they have a good effect, but if they don't hit, they're bad. So Dangers like these, they have to hit to be good. One Danger that I do think is going to see a little bit more play is going to be Danger Chupacabra, because this is actually not a -1. When Chupacabra is discarded, it will special summon a Danger out of the graveyard. So in any case, if this is the only card in your hand and you activate its effect and it gets discarded, you can special summon any other Danger out of the graveyard. So you just wouldn't use Chupacabra first. You'd probably go for it after you activate a different Danger. So this card will probably see more play than cards like Thunderbird and Bigfoot. They do have high levels and they're stronger, so some people like them. But as far as link climbing goes, this is definitely more of a utility than these cards.
So do you think that Danger as a whole will still be like a competitive top tier deck?
Oh,
despite the fact that, you know, some cards got semi-limited? And do you see them potentially limiting them even further in the future because maybe they still, you know, overkill a little bit, or at the very least, because Danger as a concept, it's so simple, but it's so broken, kind of. Not saying that there isn't other decks that could shut Dangers down, you know, first turn. There's so many ways to win in Yu-Gi-Oh, but like Dangers as a whole, they're so easy to use, you know.
I definitely think Danger is still very good. Even limiting this card to 2 is not going to be enough to stop the Danger engine, because the engine itself, worst case scenario, you would just be using other Dangers to still try to get their effects to go off to link climb. So I feel like if they don't put cards like this and this and this to 1, like Nessie, Danger, Jackalope, and snake to 1, they're still going to be maxed out. There's not going to be any deck that's playing 1 of this if they can play 2. Like I said, they're going to probably play Chupacabra more, because if a danger does miss and hit the grave, Chupacabra can come through and just give you that 1-for-1 back. So no, dangers are definitely still good. So basically, we're back, and we're going to talk about some things you can do to change your deck around to incorporate these more meta cards and make your deck better. Not necessarily that your deck's not good, but
it's trash, dude. You could just say it. You could just say it. I mean, honestly, like at the store, I get roasted every single time. So
it's one thing. You do always want to have fun while playing the game, but it's not fun to always lose. So you might want to go ahead and think about making some little changes that could turn your deck into a much more powerful deck. I've literally watched people play against certain decks, and you can sit on one card like Thunder Dragon Colossus and win the game because you're playing against a deck and they just happen to open up with all cards that need to be added to hand, and they can't add anything. So just one good card with one negate or one big monster to stop them from doing things might be all you need. So basically, we took out, these are all the dangers that you have now that you can play that are relevant. There's another.
And now, of course, you see that you're going to say that Chupacabra is like going to see a lot more play. Like,
yeah. These are only the dangers I think that you're going to play. These you're going to play because they're level 8s, not because they're good. They're just level 8s. And these are good, and this helps dig a little bit. But this card's risky because if you play Danger Mothman, you discarding cards from your opponent's hand. You both draw one card and both discard one card if this card's discarded.
It's like a Dark World Dealings.
It's a Dark World Dealings.
It kind of triggers the Dark World.
Exactly. It triggers Dark World and it triggers Dangers. It also triggers cards like Burning Abyss that don't need to be hit the field. They can go straight from deck or hand to grave and have an effect. So this card's actually risky. Chupacabra, though, you'll definitely see more play with this card. I'm sure of it. These are other dragons, and
now what would you say is the best Thunder card? I would say Dragon, right? Because it's like the backbone of the Thunder engine.
The best single-handed Thunder card would be obviously Colossus. He's just the best card. But if we're talking about main deck monsters, I'd probably go with Dark. He can trigger Thunder Dragon effects that let you tribute to go into Colossus to begin with himself. A lot of cards, they can't do anything by themselves. You can't just discard a Thunder Dragon to do nothing. This Thunder Dragon you can discard to add himself, which then allows you to even go into a Colossus later in the turn. For example, Dragon Roar, he wouldn't do anything turn 1 unless you have other dragons in the or Thunder monsters in the graveyard. Same thing with Thunderbird, you need other Thunders in the graveyard. Thunder Dragon is the old school Thunder Dragon. He's the first one.
So when I remember, to be honest.
He can trigger himself to give you a +1, and then you can go into a Thunder Dragon. So actually, he's actually a really good Thunder Dragon also. If you were to start off and open up with a Thunder card, you'd want to open up with either a Thunder Dragon Dark or a Thunder Dragon, the old school Thunder Dragon. Those are the two that can trigger themselves. They don't need anything in the graveyard to do anything. This one, you can't summon Dragon Duel. You can't summon him without having Light and Dark in the graveyard. And you cannot trigger Thunder Dragon Roar or Thunder Dragon Hawk without having cards in the graveyard. So those are probably the best, the ones to start with. Let's say, for example, if you open up certain cards, like this deck is a combo deck though. So if you open up with certain cards like Battery Man Solar and White Dragon Wyvern Buster, that's a 2-card combo that could end you with about 5 cards with just having these 2 cards, and you'll still have the additional 3 cards in your hand. So there's cards like that give you a combo, which are broken. And there's also other card combos, like this is a combo deck, but we're not going to make it into a full combo deck where you have a lot of bricks and cards that might stop you from being able to play the game because you stop yourself. So we're just doing little tweaks to the Danger deck in general to make you be able to play the Thunder Dragons, but we're not going to turn it into a complete combo deck. We'll probably go ahead and make a video of the combos that you can do with this deck later. Right now, we're just kind of going over cards that you are going to need to play this deck to its potential. And of course, this deck mixes with dragons, because dragons are just amazing. They've always been good since back in the day. Kaiba was playing dragons. A lot of dragons are broken now. These are all dragons. Dragons. So you're literally essentially using dragons for the extra deck, dangers for the main deck, like I guess you can say a core to go into the deck, and also Thunder Dragons for another core. So these are 2 decks that you can switch up all day. You can change them around. You can use them in different decks. I've seen Thunder Dragon Prank Kids. I've seen Danger Orcas. I see.
You could mix them into anything, basically.
Guard Dragon.
So you could even kind of like bring an old school deck like Black Wings back into action, or even like a deck like Monarchs. I mean, I know that's like a random combination, but like you could get really creative with it, right?
You could definitely get creative. I mean, I wouldn't say like a deck like Monarchs. Monarchs strive off not using extra deck at all. But
oh, that's right. Yeah.
They don't use extra deck, so not Monarchs. But you can definitely get any deck that wants to get a little.
I just really like Mobius. Like I don't know why. Like I always like that card. And
he is a cool card. That's old school. I used to play Monarchs back in the day. Actually, they just brought back one of the Monarchs off the ban list. The light one, the Heavenly something. She's back and she's broken. So you guys might see Monarchs even more played at locals and in tournaments in general. But so yeah, these are basically the cards that you're gonna change up to make your deck into a little bit more aggressive meta deck.
Now I know when I got rid of my Secret Ash Blossom, the card pretty much it stayed the same in value. I know it retained like, I don't know what, like 80% of its value, because I remember it was like 60, 65 at one point, probably more, but now it's like 45. If the Dangers get reprinted, because these are the secrets, these are the originals, would you see a drop in the value of the secrets if they get reprinted, or it just all depends, and it's really like a fluctuating thing that, you know, it just, you can't really, like, I don't know, keep track of that stuff or make predictions and ahead of time?
You can make predictions. It really depends though on how badly they reprint a card. Like here's an example. We've got Thunder Dragon Colossus. The original print of it's a secret rare. They reprinted the card as an ultimate rare, which is it's to some people a rarity bump, because ultimates are sought after more now than secrets, because they discontinued making ultimates in core sets. So this was a reprint that made the value of Colossus, this value, go up compared to this card that's going to get reprinted. It's going to be reprinted as probably a promo, which is going to be a super rare or an ultra rare in a tin, so it's definitely going to go down. I'm not sure if they're going to make these cards all in tins, because they make them reprinted in a mega tin as a promo. It's going to destroy the value. If they reprint it as a secret rare in the tin that you have to pull, it's still going to retain value, because it's still hard to pull and it's not guaranteed. Colossus out of the OTS pack is worth more than the original secret. Originally the secret was worth more, but now this card is dropped and this card is higher. So it really depends on what they do with the reprint, but in all reality, original prints do hold value. They will never be worthless. Like for Ash, for example, the Ash you got, the secret rare is probably around like $45 right now. Originally it was I want to say like a $75 card. Now it's about $40 after it's been reprinted 3 times. So after continuously reprinting cards over and over again, it's gonna slowly lower the value, because you've got people that are collectors who want to have the first set original prints, and you have people who are just like budget players where they just want to have the card to play, which is nothing's wrong with either one. At some point in my life, or everyone's life, I'm sure they say, I don't feel like spending max price on a card because it's original print and there's a cheaper reprint and it's the exact same card. For example, they reprint cards sometimes in the exact same rarity. The only thing that's different about the card is that you'll see the set name is different, and it'll be either limited edition or unlimited, but it'll be the exact same print, the exact same rarity. So when it comes to cards like that, some people don't care at all. So I want to say that these cards are going to retain some value, and it's going to take time for them to reprint it anyway. They're not going to destroy the game, because if you just reprint everything as worthless, it's not going to make the game better. It's going to make people not buy their packs. They're just going to go for the reprints.
10 years.
Yeah, well, not even 10 years, but like, because core sets go out of print. But like, for example, the newest set, if they make a card that's a chase card and then they reprint it in no time as a tin or a promo, the core set itself is not going to sell that much, because not everyone is a collector of the original first sets. So they wouldn't. I believe that Konami is a little bit smarter than that. they're not going to destroy themselves or destroy the game like that, but they will definitely reprint cards after they've tried to get as much money as they can for the card.
Now, 10 years from now, let's make a little prediction, right? Could you see these cards being like God cards in a way? Like 10 years from now, like, you know, the God cards are still kind of pricey if you want like the original, like ones like basically in mint condition. Could you see Dangers in like the whole Danger engine and secret being like $600, $1,000 just because, or even double that price possibly? Or do you think that's kind of like a big sketch, or not sketch, but like a too much of an exaggeration of the potential of like the value of these cards in the future as an archetype? Because the archetype is really, man, it's just so freaking broken, and it's like, and the cards are beautiful, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a little bit much to think that these cards will be that valuable. Konami probably wouldn't let that happen because they don't care about cards holding value for a long time. They want to make money off of new things that they print, because they're basically printing money, because everything they print, it makes people want to buy it. So no, I don't think these cards will hold value like that. Yes, I think they'll be worth more than the reprints always, but they will not be worth hundreds of dollars. Like, Konami will either limit them or ban them, which will make their value drop, because right now I'm sure the value of all the Dangers are dropping because people are worried that they're going to get reprinted. So the prices are going to drop. People are going to sell them lower to try to get their money back. If they've already invested into these cards and they ban them, you just lose money. So no, Konami will not let a card be worth that much. When Konami sees that an old card is worth money, they'll reprint it. Like, for example, Artifact Scythe. It was a card that came out of Primal Origin that they missed it on a, they reprinted it, but it still was worth $20. And they said, why are we making a $20 card still be worth $20? So they reprinted it again as a $1 card. So I definitely don't think Konami would sit there and let cards hold that much value. They'd probably reprint them.
Yeah, I think it'll probably in 10 years from now, it'll pretty much stay the same. And I mean, they could go up or down, but I don't think they're going to be, worthless, because Dangers, like right now, they're at their like climax, or this is like the Danger era kind of in a way. And
yeah, I think that the highest price that the Dangers were at is as high as they're going to be, because Konami's either going to limit them or ban them, and it's just going to hurt the value of the cards. There's only so much you're going to pay for a card that you can't even play anymore.